What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the B3CUZ Sports Power Hour. I'm your host, Leonard Lucas III. There's a lot of things to discuss today in sports, especially in the game of professional football. From for Jamar Chase not being able to catch a ball, the QB1 conversations for the Saints and Jags, this is year is definitely turning up to be announced for. So let's get started with our debate today. Listen, my name is Leonard Lucas again, and we are streaming live on our platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. We're going to be having some discussions today. We're going to be talking a little bit about football. We got some hosts coming in just a second. Listen, if you was under the rock, what you seen on Monday between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill is definitely what competition between two quarterbacks is all about. Every year we see in the NFL, there's always two quarterbacks on some team that is battling it out for QB1. What we're seeing now from Jameis Winston shows the quality of what he can do at quarterback. Nothing against Taysom Hill, and we know that he is a good quarterback, but we know that Jameis is more polished. The question and concerns have been over the couple of years about Jameis turnovers and his wild play. Partnering with Bruce Arians, we know that Bruce Arians' philosophy was known as let it fly. But what we're seeing now in the midst of a new era with Sean Payton, can Sean Payton and Jameis Winston tie it up to make this offense work? To me, as a true Saints fan, I believe so. And the reason why is that this is a totally different offense than Bruce Arians' offense. The Saints offense now today is an offense that has a prolific running back in Alvin Kamara and a prolific wide receiver in Michael Thomas, and also have a new up and coming Marquise Callaway. Now, if you were under a rock and you don't know anything about New Orleans Saints football, Marquise Callaway is no scrub. He's a guy that's been able to perform for the last 2 years. Even when we seen last year when Michael Thomas had injuries on last year, he was definitely a performer. And we've seen in the offseason that Jameis Winston and Marquise Callaway and Traquan Smith have been building a repertoire. What you've seen on Monday is what you're going to be seeing week in, week out between Jameis Winston and Marquise Callaway. One of the things I want to point about Jameis Winston is that he had an abysmal line in Tampa Bay. We know that we have one of the best lines in football. The New Orleans Saints line is not only have veterans, but team players who work together. And I think that's what you're going to be looking at this season, where you're going to see a lot of veteran guys coming up and stepping up, knowing that Jameis is not Breeze, but there's a lot of things that he does well. There's a lot of passes that he made on Monday that was definitely reminded me of some of the things that he did with Mike Evans. Now, you have to understand that Mike Evans over the last 5 years averaged 1,000 yards, which means that Jameis had to give him the ball and had to be effective in giving him the ball. And we've seen that Chris Godwin was not a scrub. Now we know that Jameis was taken out of Tampa Bay. He came down to New Orleans in the year of 2020, and we know that he was, under Drew Brees, the helm of Drew Brees, and learning from Drew Brees specifically how to not always hit the home run, but make the check downs, make the dump outs, because we have a great defense. Yes, some people would say New Orleans Saints have a good defense, but I believe that we truly have a great defense. A lot of commentators would talk about Janoris Jenkins, losing him and losing some of our players at secondary. But I think with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, P.J. Williams, they're going to pick up the slack, and you always have Marshawn Lattimore. And these are the things that we're going to see once the season happens, that I believe that they have all the capabilities of being a team to win 11 games. Why are they going to win 11 games? Because they have a great, tremendous defensive rush with Cam Jordan and Yamada, who was suspended for 6 games, Davenport altogether. You have a defensive front. I won't say they like the dome patrol, but you have a defensive front that's definitely going to be able to protect you in some of the weaknesses in the secondary. I believe our weaknesses comes truly from the secondary and may come from the rushing attack. I believe that Sean Payton this year is going to use Kamara for different schemes, different type of routes, whether it's some type of fades, back shoulder screens, and things like that. But I believe that he's going to be using Jones and Latavius Murray for much of the hard work, especially on the first two downs. You're definitely going to be seeing a lot of Murray. The case for Murray is going to be, can he get the burners going? And that's what, that's been the question that many people have been asking. Can Murray get out of this funk? And we know that he's going to need somewhere between 17 to 18 touches. But that is the thing that we're looking at, and that's what we're going to be observing throughout the whole season. The Saints' schedule is not an easy schedule. You got Green Bay, you've got basically the division, which is a division that doesn't have any scrubs. You got some teams that you're going to be playing the AFC this year. You got to go to Seattle in October. And so you have a couple of games that's definitely going to be some games that's truly going to test them. But what I think is going to be built is team camaraderie. Team camaraderie. That's going to be the biggest thing to see if they're going to be able to win. I don't think Jameis is going to be going to make those mistakes. I'm looking at an era of interceptions, but somewhere between 13 and 17. I think Sean Payton is really going to minimize his turnovers by giving him different looks and really pinpointing and being a little bit more hands-on with him than he was with Breeze. And when you talk about the chemistry that Sean Payton had with Drew Brees, that's just a different type of chemistry that has been developed over 15 years. He's not having that chemistry with Jameis Winston. I'm not saying that Jameis Winston is a scrub. This guy is a veteran. He does know how to play football. He does know how to look at reads, but he does not know how to look at it at the caliber like Drew Brees. And that's going to be for certain when you start to see some of the reads that you're going to see in this coming season. But what he does have is he has a tremendous deep threat. And I believe that the offense will be prolific because I believe that Jameis Winston is going to let it fly. The only person that's going to stop Jameis Winston from letting it fly is Sean Payton. And I hope he does not restrict him and let him play at the caliber that he has been playing and know he can play to that level. And so not having that self-doubt in his coach is definitely going to either minimize or maximize his potential at quarterback. And so I think Jameis is going to be able to do well. I'm not looking for a 5,000-yard season, but if he gets somewhere between 3,800 to 4,200 yards, I think that means the Saints have ability to win and go to the playoffs and actually get deep in the playoffs. What is the reason? A lot of people makes the talk a little bit about Jameis throwing 30 interceptions. I mean, you have to understand he also threw for 5,067 yards, which is one of the leaders in passing that year. He also threw for 33 touchdowns, which is one of the top leaders in passing that year. The 30 interceptions, a lot of those for the margin of error about 38 to 39% were tipped balls for interceptions. It could have went any way. And we know Jameis likes to throw those 50-50 balls. Those were intercepted. That could have went either way. If their Godwin or Mike Evans could have fought for those balls could have easily been completions. But when you look at mistakes, they are made in football. These are the professionals. And just like Shannon Sharp said, when these guys play football, you have to understand all these teams have talent. All these teams are prolific. All these teams have the best coaching and the best fitness people and the best trainers ever. It's going to come down to coaching and it's going to come down to team camaraderie. That is which win games. Who wants it more? Football is the closest sport that we have to warfare that we can see, probably next to boxing or UFC. And UFC is more like torture and just grudge match, just growling, grueling, just warfare. It is the most craziest type of warfare that you can see in your life. But when you look at football, it is really warfare. You definitely have to make chess moves on that field. So to me, the Saints are going to need a lot of grit to win in this season. Now, looking at Mike Thomas, we've been discussing Mike Thomas over the last couple of days, and I made a couple of suggestions about why Mike Thomas might not want to be here. We already seen with some of the things that he's done over the last 3 years that he is one of the best wide receivers in football today. If you look at what he has done, I mean, the most receptions. him and Drew Brees were definitely on target together, and I believe that he's going to be minimized just a little bit. He's not going to get as many touches because he's not going to have to be bailed out. The quarterback won't have to be bailed out like Drew Brees had to bail out because he didn't have the deep passing. A lot of people knew, look, we can do press coverage, we can do cover zone, we can do cover two, play him on every short ball, we play him up. We know where he's going. We know it's going to be slants. We know it's going to be those little in routes. So we're going to play him and put press coverage on him. I think that now what Sean Payton has with the element of surprise by not saying who he's going to allow at QB1 when all of America knows who's going to be QB1. We already know that it's going to be Jameis, but he has the element of surprise as building a package. I believe now what Sean Payton should be doing is building a specific package for Jameis to make sure he succeed in this year. Now, with Mike Thomas, we know that the discussion about June, him getting the surgery, and they've been begging him since February to go take the surgery and then fix his body so that he can be ready for this season. There was a lot of discussions. There was a lot of team fights. There was a lot of team discussions between Sean Payton and Mike Thomas. I don't know why he did not get the surgery. I don't know why he waited till the summer to get the surgery when he had 3 to 4 months to get the surgery. That's only between Mike Thomas and the Saints organization. But what I do know is that Mike Thomas has to come into a new team. Most of the pieces, we know have still been here for the last 2 to 3 years, but he's coming with a new quarterback, a quarterback that he did not build rapport with, a quarterback that played on the second team, so he never had a chance to, put the ball where he liked it. So they're going to have to really come together and really get on the same page if they want to win, especially with Green Bay. You're talking about Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, who had an explosive year last year, and the reason why I know because he was one of my top fantasy picks in the fantasy football draft. This is a guy who definitely is amazing, one of the top route runners. You're talking about speed. He may not have speed, but what he lacks in speed, he's best. He's best at getting off the ball. When you start seeing him off the jump on his routes, there's nobody can guard him. He can go in, he can go out, he can do the fade, he can do slants, and that's what makes him hard to guard. It's not that he's so explosive; it's that first move. That first move with Devontae Adams is so crazy and so explosive, and that's why he loses players. He's a walking ticket and he's a walking bucket, and the reason why I say that is because this guy get into the end zone like none other, and that's what I'm looking for Green Bay to start off fast and try to get some offense going, especially with that combo between Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Now, Aaron Rodgers did have problems with management, and his problems was solely with general management. I don't know if he had problems with the coaching staff, but we know that through sports updates and news analysis that Aaron Rodgers did have some problems with general management, especially with the salary cap trying to put the core collective back. One of his things was he wanted a lot of pieces on the O-line. He wanted a lot of defensive pieces to come back, a lot of core veterans. He was trying to figure out how they can slash those specific cuts and make cuts in certain areas so they can get those specific key players to come back. One of the problems that he had with general management is that they did not allow him in the interviews. They did not allow him in the talks. And a lot of guys that he wanted to stay, they did not stay because they were shipped to other places. And that's the reason why they made him mad. And that's the reason why he did not want to come back. I don't know if he didn't want to come back. I think it could be that he wanted to make a statement to Green Bay and letting them know, listen, we have to play this by my rules. I'm a guy that brought you to the NFC Championship. I'm a guy that won a Super Bowl, even though it's over 10 years. But when you talk about just a piercing finisher, not only is he a piercing finisher, but he has probably one of the hardest throws in football. When you talk about how hard he throws it and zips it in there, his zip is just amazing where he can get into tight spots. So you should be watching Green Bay and you should be looking at them accordingly, because I think they're going to be a team that's going to be deep in the playoffs as well. We're also looking at Russell Wilson. The repertoire that he's built with DK Metcalf is just out of this world. To me, it's really reminding me of old school San Francisco with Jerry Rice and Steve Young. Is just, even Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. You just seeing what these guys have been able to do. And if you ever seen Russell Westbrook play, the typical ball that he throws, and a lot of sports commentators say he he throws the moon ball. I mean, when you see him throw the ball, I mean, there's nobody that can throw the ball as deep as Russell Wilson in football today. He comes right out of the sky and it drops right in their hands. DK Metcalf is a guy that's just a freak of nature. If you've ever seen his body, he's the closest thing to a Greek god that you can ever see. And that's going to be one of the things that's going to be real big coming up in the season, seeing if they can continue the magic and really get the job done to get into the NFC playoffs. It's really not just been them, it's really been turnovers, and it's also been just they get into a lot of games where they get into this slump where I don't know what's been happening over the last couple of years, but it's just and been getting into this slump, which has really been hindering them from getting deep into the playoffs and in winning games. There were some games that they should have won, but they got into slumps on offense. Defense is definitely not the same defense as the Legion of Doom, but definitely they're going to have to correct some things on the defensive side because if the offensive is not clicking, we begin to see in those little spurts, they start to lose games, key games that are in their division. And if they do that, with LA's always creeping up and giving them a run for their money, the Rams also has a good core group as well. They're definitely going to need to make some adjustments and do some real in-depth search of what they're going to do on the defensive side if the offense get a slump. One of the teams I want to talk about is a team that I do not like. I actually hate them. It's Tampa Bay. We see in Tampa Bay with Brady, and they got a lot of their key components in. One of the guys that I do like is Chris Godwin. What I like about Chris Godwin, he's a guy that has just a fearless intensity. The way he plays like he's playing in Sandlot, and that's the reason why he had one of those injuries to his hand on last year's because this guy plays off the jump, and he's going to give you 110%. I think that Tom Brady needs to build a repertoire and use him. He's very good in the spread offense that you see. You put him in the slot, he's definitely going to torch a lot of guys who's playing him as a second or third cornerback. He's definitely going to kill him because he's just that great. He's just that awesome. You got Antonio Brown, you got Tom Brady, and you've got I just got Gronkowski as the tight end. He's got a lot of key components. Devin White at linebacker. He's got a lot of great guys. LSU candidate, and we know we love LSU players over here. He got a lot of great guys that's willing to surround him and be able to get them into another Super Bowl. The only thing when you look at Tom Brady, he's a fundamental player, and a lot of people talk about his talent. A lot of people talk about how great he is, but why is he great? Just like great golfers, he's very fundamental, and that's what makes him the best because he's a very good fundamental player. His fundamentals are perfect. And so looking at that team, looking at the division, and looking at what he's able to do, they may be the leaders in the division this year. We got to see what the Saints are going to do because everything the Saints are doing is going to do this year is going to be experimental. Sean Payton really is going to have to look in that playbook and see how can his playbook complement Jameis. I know he's got a lot of plays for Taysom Hill because Taysom Hill is his baby. It's just like the bride of Frankenstein. It's one that he took out of the helms. He took out of the wilderness. He's been trying to polish him. But when you look at, Taysom Hill, we know that he's not the guy. He's not the guy that he's not the guy that's going to be the starter for the Saints football team. And so he's going to have to really get adjusted with Jameis and see how to make this work, how to get it going. Because if you just look at what the Saints, and we're going to topic in just a bit, we got about another 30 more minutes and we're going to get to some of our main topics. And then we're going to open it up for the chat and we're going to have people ask some live questions and be able to debate because we know that's what you like to do. You guys want to debate. But when we look at, Sean Payton, he really wants Hill to be out there, and he's really going to give Hill every shot to try to get this job because he spoke out and stepped out for him saying, this is the guy that's going to be Drew Brees' heir apparent. This is the guy who's going to be at the helm and take over Drew Brees' job. And so he wants to let everybody, just put it in everybody's face that this guy can do great things and that this guy is a phenomenal player. We all know that Hill, what we're seeing from Hill, we all know that he's going to have to do more But with Sean Payton, he wants to tell everybody that this guy is a guy that could perform. When you look at Taysom Hill is a guy that could perform. When you look at Taysom Hill, there's a lot of weaknesses. There's a lot of out routes that he cannot throw. There's a lot of touch balls that he cannot throw. What you've seen against the Jags, there was a lot of passes that had to deal with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. He was off on that. He had the one that he did with a little Jordan Humphreys in the third quarter, which was phenomenal, and that was great to see. But that was a 50-50 ball. If the cornerback would have turned his head, that would have been an interception. He just was not fluent in there, and I think the pressure was on after Jameis had scored those 2 touchdowns. I think that was one of the things that really had him scared and really had him flustered and really didn't get him in the rhythm. This week he's going to be starting against the Cardinals in the Dome. We don't know if that game is going to be postponed or if they're going to fly to Arizona due to Hurricane Irma or Tropical Storm Irma right now. We don't know if they're going to be able to play that game, but we're going to be giving you more in-depth analysis to see if they're going to be playing that game here in the Dome or if they're going to be going to Arizona. But I want to go into the key of these rookies. I really want to talk a little bit about the rookies, and that's the first topic that we're going to be talking about today, because there's a lot of great rookies, and especially a lot of great LSU rookies that are going to be performing today. They're going to be performing in the NFL, and definitely you want to take a look at my guy Jamar Chase. If you thought Justin Jefferson was great, you should take a look at Jamar Chase. Now, in his first preseason game, he definitely probably had the pregame jitters because he dropped every pass that was thrown his way. I think it has everything to do with mechanics. I don't think you're going to see this in the next game. I think it's going to be more polished. He's also with Joe Burrow, who is a guy that throw to him a lot. So they know how each other work. They know their routes. They both played at LSU together. They both won a national championship together. So I think it's going to be great. The only thing about Cincinnati, they have an abysmal line, probably one of the worst lines in offensive lines in football, NFL. And so what you're going to have to do when you're looking at this is just look at some of the repertoire between Chase and Burrow and begin to see how they're coming out of the huddle. Some of the looks that you're going to see is going to be similar to what they've ran out of LSU. Now, Jamar Chase is a guy that runs about 4.35, so he's a pretty fast guy. Jefferson is about 4.4, 4.5. But Justin Jefferson is a guy that has hands. His hands is like glue. Jamar Chase is too, but when you look at speed, you're looking at Jamar Chase. And so I think that he's a guy that's capable of especially making 1,100 yards and especially some rack yards, probably 8.5 to 9.3 yards this season because he's just that explosive. He's going to be a guy that Joe Burrow is going to be looking for. And a lot of people saying, why is he going to be looking for him? It's just because they have so much chemistry. They know what they've done at LSU, and I think the coach, offensive coordinator is going to be looking to really get those guys together and really get those guys into a place where they're in just the camaraderie and just coming together, making the best of what they can do with that team. I don't think they're going to win more than 7 games, but I do believe that it's going to be very exciting. So you want to look at the Cincinnati Bengals and really take a look at Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Burrow is coming off the injury. I'm sure he's learned a lot after last year when he just got blown up. You definitely got to kneel down as a quarterback because all these guys are just as fast as you. All these guys are capable. These guys are defense, want to kill you, and you're not going to get calls because in the NFL, you're nobody. Yes, you're Joe Burrow. You won a national championship. You're one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen in college football. But when you come to the professional league, when you come to NFL, when you come to the not-for-long, that's what they call the NFL, the not-for-long league, if you don't know how to play right, if you come up and think you're the man, you will get knocked down. I want to do something real quick for those who are watching on Twitter right now. You can follow us on Twitter at B3CUZ Podcast, Facebook at B3CUZ Podcast, and on our YouTube channel. We got many people on our YouTube channel right now. Hip on that YouTube channel. If you want to shoot us a chat, you can shoot us a chat right now. Any questions you want to ask? Somebody's asking about the Cowboys. No, I don't want to talk about the Cowboys because we know they suck. They are trash. And so we know we do not want to talk about the Cowboys because the Cowboys are trash. So that chat, I'm not going to talk about. The second thing I want to talk about, which NFL team is going to be a shocker? Which NFL team is going to be a shocker? I'm looking really now as I'm looking at just the components that they have, I really think that Cleveland is going to do really well. The Browns have so many pieces with Odell, with uh, uh, um, Baker Mayfield, and I forgot the guy name, and it's on the tip of my tongue. But we're gonna get Jarvis Landry, and so they have those pieces together. They have a lot of offensive prowess on the offensive side of the ball, and so in the AFC, which is a division that has been depleted. Tom Brady has left. Ben Roethlisberger is over. You should check out Cleveland. We know we got the you got the Chargers, and you also have got um, oh my God, the Chiefs with Mahomes, which still is dominant. But you have to really look at Cleveland. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to do well. I think they're going to win at least 10 to 11 games. And you're going to see a Cleveland team that's polished, that's going to be polished on defense. I want you to really look at the secondary. They got some key players, some key additions that they added. So you definitely want to look at the secondary. You want to take a look at what they're going to be able to do. I think if they can, really revitalize that defensive front, throw a couple of blitz packages, throw a couple of disguise blitz in there, come out of the zone, play a little bit of man, be a little bit aggressive. I think you're going to see a good Browns team. It's all dependent on Baker. That's been one of the things. We know we've seen a guy that can have a show. We've seen a guy that's partying on the boats. We've seen the guy that's all across, the country in Vegas and everywhere and doing all kind of great things. But it's just like the chemistry hasn't been there. There've been injuries, Odell, all these different things, and so if they're able to really clean that up, I think they'll be able to do well. Um, Over the years, what we've been seeing in the NFL, and we're going to take a little turn. What we've been seeing in the NFL is just basically from the commissioner trying to really clean up football. They've been going after a lot of targeted hits. They've been really penalizing a lot of targeted hits, especially on the quarterback, to try to make this game of football as clean as it can be. And so you're going to see a lot of more calls from officials. The commissioner said they're going to be looking and taking even more targeted looks at certain areas of the game. They're going to be having officials from the official main field watching in, keying in, looking at video, looking at tape, seeing what's dirty, seeing what's targeted. And for a lot of fans, they really are upset about that. But I believe the commissioner, Roger Goodell, is really trying to minimize a lot of long-term injuries, minimize CTE, minimize a lot of hits to the head, minimize a lot of hits against a lot of the star players, because advertisement is focused on the star players. You want star players to be playing professional football. What we're seeing in the NBA, because they rushed the NBA last year, there was a lot of injuries, and I don't think Roger Goodell wants to do with that. That's why I believe that this preseason, these 3 games, and then the rest on the 4th week, a lot of people are going to be resting to get their players just right for the September 9th opening, and then majority of the players is going to be playing, of the teams and players are going to be playing on September 12th. And so looking at that, you're going to be seeing a more polished league, and a lot of people are going to be seeing a lot of calls, especially on national televised games. You're going to see national televised games much longer, because you're going to be seeing more calls called for that. Now, the question of the day is the league has the league, NFL league, been more physical 30 years ago from now? Of course, it was a much more physical league back then, just because there was not a lot of regulations against a lot of the hits. There was not a lot of penalty fouls against a lot of the hits. I mean, you can clothesline guys, you can slap them on the ground, but look at the repercussions of a lot of guys. A lot of those guys are taking painkillers. A lot of those guys have died. A lot of those guys have CTE, different problems going with their back. You see the guy like the refrigerator, and you see Earl Campbell, who barely can walk. When you start seeing the horror stories of what happened in the NFL, I can see Roger Goodell concern that he wants players this is a business that has a lot of advertisement. You have Gillette, you have Coca-Cola, you have all Pepsi, you have all these different advertisers for all these different teams. You have Ford and Chevy that are all advertisers, and they want players to be on at the game on Sundays. And the reason why is because people watch. We had some of the highest ratings, and I know pandemics has helped with the ratings, but the NFL has some of the most highest ratings last year just for the fact that there was more people tuning into football when there was a lot of people on Twitter saying they would never watch football. There was more people watching football last year than we ever seen. And with key markets like Dallas, yes, of course, I said Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco and New York. People are going to be tuning in at alarming rates. You're going to be seeing a lot of people coming in, tuning in, and definitely Goodell wants to protect his money. It's a lot of money coming in. There's a lot of endorsements coming in. There's a lot of TV rights that is multiplying. Money is multiplying every year. I mean, when you see a guy like Michael Thomas getting paid 20 a year, when you're seeing D-Hop getting 18, $19 million a year, which is just crazy for wide receivers to get. And this is a day where money is just flowing. People have a lot of it. Owners have a lot of it, and they've got to spend it for TV rights. We want to go into um, another topic. I want to talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys. I want to talk about can they create any magic this season? It's a lot to deal with. Um, it's a lot to deal with Dallas. They've had a lot of injuries. You've got Gallup, you've got Dak coming out of injuries. You even got the second string quarterback trying to fight for a spot to see if he's going to be starting. It's really going to come up with the defense. The defense a couple of years ago was known for being a prolific defense, with Van Der Esch and started with that linebacker play. But you're going to have to really reel in on the defense. They let a lot of things slide. They were deflated after Dak Prescott got hurt. Dak is going to be Dak. I don't see any diminishing of his numbers. I think he's going to be able to perform really well. He's going to do really well. He's just got his contract signed, so I know they were happy about that. And a lot of people were asking, well, why is Jerry Jones waiting on his contract? I mean, he ain't Tony Romo. Jerry loved Tony Romo, and I don't know the reason why he loved Tony Romo, because Tony Romo has never cashed any check that has cashed any check that Jerry Jones had paid because he just played so horrible. But when it comes to Dak, I think Dak is going to really have to just get back to the rhythm of just being himself. When you come off an injury, especially an injury as gruesome as he had, he's going to really have to just reel it in and just play his style of football. And just really, start getting back into his progression, start getting back into his reads, and just, getting to a place where, he's looking at different reads, looking at different things, getting comfortable with his guys and just going and performing at a high level. This guy can perform at a high level. He's from Mississippi State, and Mississippi State is an SEC school, so that is the closest thing to professional football that you're going to see. That's truly the closest thing to professional football that you're going to see. And so Dak is an amazing guy. He's profound. He is the best. You're going to see him do well. He's the best, one of the probably top 15 quarterbacks in football. So I think you're going to see him do well. Do I believe the Dallas Cowboys are going to go to playoffs? No, I don't. I don't think so, because just the division that they're in, they got Philly, you got New York Giants, which New York probably won't win, but you still got Philly. And so that's what they're going to have to look out for is Philly coming into that. Coming into those 6 games, they got to look for Philly, and then they might even lose to New York. So there's a lot of things that you need to look at for Dallas. There's a lot of things you need to observe, but it all starts with Dak. Truly, it all starts with Dak and seeing how he can perform. The last question that we got from today, and this is coming from a great person who just sent this out of Texas, says, "Does coaches make a difference for highly talented teams?" I think coaches do make a difference for even the most highly talented team. You look at a team like Green Bay, or you look at a team like the Chiefs, who are great teams. You even have Lamar Jackson. The coach sets the tone. The coach sees things on the field that players can't see because they're playing at just milliseconds. They're playing just this fast. But coaches make the team better. I truly believe that coaches can make the team worse more than they can make it better. And so you definitely and it's all about chemistry too. There's a lot of things that coaches can see. So yes, highly talented organizations still need coaches because there's things that coaches can see, but they need good coaches, great coaches. Every coach is not great. Every coaches don't know how to make adjustments. And I think the coaches who makes the best adjustments coming out of that second quarter, going to the third quarter, coming out of the second half, those are the coaches who win mostly. Coaches who say we're going to stick to the game plan, there won't be any adjustments and things like that. Those are the coaches that lose because, like I said, football is the closest thing to warfare. So it's any given Sunday. Just because a team is the best team in the league, they can play any team and lose because it's about the team that wanted more. So coaches are a big part of the organization winning, but without the players, the organization wouldn't win at all. And that's our sports power hour for today. Our sports correspondent, Kendall Spears, I guess he could not come tonight, and so we thank him for being a part. He was to have more in-depth analysis. Joshua Lucas was going to come too, but he didn't have a chance to come in on tonight. So we're going to close it from there. We'll be back every Tuesday and Thursday on Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook Live. This is Leonard Lucas, senior sports correspondent for B3CUZ Podcast. We're going to be asking some questions in the chat. We want you to get on Twitter Voice. We're going to do another live in 20 minutes with Twitter Voice to give you some more in-depth sports analysis, talking about football, talking about some things that's going to be happening in basketball. So click on right now to Twitter Voice, get connected, go to B3CUZ Podcast right now, your number one sports talk podcast, B3CUZ Podcast. I'm Leonard Lucas. We'll be seeing you shortly in just a bit on Twitter Podcast so we can get connected. All right, guys, you have a good night.